scrolling through your feeds, maybe catching up on movie news, and then bam, this trailer drops for Fantastic Four, First Steps.
Yeah.
And it just completely flips the script, you know? I mean, the retro-vibe looks amazing, but the thing everyone's talking about, Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer.
It's definitely the big headline from that trailer drop.
Absolutely. So let's dive into this. We saw a Newsweek piece from April 17th that really breaks it down. And this casting, it's more than just news, right? It feels significant.
Oh, totally. And that's what this deep dive is really about. We want to unpack why this choice, Julia Garner as the Surfer, is getting so much attention.
Okay.
We'll dig into the source material, the comics, and figure out what this might mean for the Fantastic Four entering the MCU. It's about understanding the why behind it.
Exactly. So the trailer hits, we see Julia Garner, amazing in Ozark, inventing Anna. We all know her work.
Phenomenal actress.
Right. And now she's all silver on the board and drops that line, "Your planet has been marked for death."
Chilling line. Really sets a specific tone.
It really does. And it's such a departure from the Norrin Rad version most comic fans know, and even from the last movie version.
Yeah, Doug Jones and Lawrence Fishburne back in 2007.
Right. So what makes this specific shift, this casting, feel so notable right away?
Well, I think it's because the Silver Surfer, specifically Norrin Rad, is such a, foundational character. Yeah. He first showed up way back in Fantastic Four, #48, 1966, a Jack Kirby creation.
Classic stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And his whole story, this astronomer from Zenla who sacrifices everything, becomes Galactus's herald to save his world, that's so ingrained in the character's identity. So seeing that archetype, presented in a fundamentally different way with a different gender, it naturally makes you ask questions about Marvel's adaptation strategy. It's a big swing.
It really is. No, the Newsweek article brought up a super interesting point. This isn't just like, let's make Norrin Rad female.
Right.
Julia Garner's character apparently has a name, Shalabal, and she's not new. She's actually from the comics.
Exactly. And that's, I think, a key piece of information. Shalabal has her own history in Marvel Comics. She first appeared in Silver Surfer #1 back in 1968.
Okay, so right around the same era.
Yeah, very early on. Initially, she was Norrin Rad's great love, the Empress of Zenla, the person he was essentially trying to protect when he made his deal with Galactus.
Ah, okay, so that adds a whole different layer to it.
It does. But her story didn't stop there. Later in the comics, Shalabal actually gained cosmic powers herself. Galactus gave her a portion of the power cosmic.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, she used it to restore Zenla after it was devastated and became its leader. So she's a character with agency and power in her own right within the comics.
That changes things quite a bit. So they're not just swapping genders, they're potentially swapping which character becomes the Surfer, drawing from existing lore?
Precisely. It suggests a more deliberate choice, maybe exploring a different facet of the Silver Surfer mythology that's already there, just less known to the general audience.
And that Newsweek piece also mentioned, didn't it say she had a darker turn in some comics? Like more recently?
It did, yeah. In a 2016 Silver Surfer run, she became this character called the Keeper of the Great Truth. And she was actually kind of an antagonist to Norrin Rad for a time.
So hero, leader, antagonist. There's a lot of potential complexity there for the movie to explore.
Absolutely. It gives them options. They could be drawing from her heroic phase, her darker phase, or maybe even riffing on those what-if or alternate reality concepts where maybe Shalabal did become a herald instead of Norrin.
Right, like in some other corner of the multiverse.
Could be.
Huh.
It allows for a fresh take that still feels grounded somewhat in the source material. It's the first time we're really seeing a female Silver Surfer take center stage in a big adaptation like this.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a significant first. Okay, shifting slightly, but still on the movie. The Newsweek article reminded us about the setting and cast.
Right, the 1960s. Retro-futuristic Manhattan.
Which looks great. Directed by Matt Shakman, who did WandaVision.
Good pedigree there for handling weird and stylized MCU stuff.
Totally. And the main four, Pedro Pascal as Reed, Vanessa Kirby as Sue, Joseph Quinn as Johnny, and Eben Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, the Thing.
That's a powerhouse cast. Really strong actors across the board.
It really is. Now, how does that 60s setting and the fact that, according to Variety, it's kind of in its own bubble universe initially, how does that play into things?
Well, setting it in the past and keeping it somewhat self-contained at first, that gives them breathing room.
Okay.
They can establish this version of the Fantastic Four, their world, their dynamics, without immediately having to, juggle connections to every other existing MCU character or event.
Right. Avoids getting bogged down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the 60s setting leans into that classic sci-fi age of exploration vibe that's so core to the Fantastic Four comics originally.
Mm.
Plus, with that cast, they're aiming to nail the family dynamic.
Yeah, that feels crucial for the FF. Oh, and speaking of family dynamics, that Newsweek piece highlighted something else from the trailer, hints of a pregnancy. Sue and Reed.
Yeah, that definitely caught people's eyes. The potential introduction of Franklin Richards.
Who is, like, unbelievably powerful in the comics.
Omega-level mutant, reality warper, the whole deal. Introducing that possibility, even just hinting at it in the first movie, that suggests they're thinking long-term.
Planting seeds for the future.
Absolutely. It's not just an origin story. It's potentially setting up massive future storylines involving the full scope of the Fantastic Four family and their impact.
And it seems like some fans are already connecting the dots. The Newsweek article mentioned a tweet, someone pointing out that, hey, a female Silver Surfer does exist in the comics.
Right, sort of preempting the they just change it for no reason complaints, which is helpful context.
Definitely. And Matt Shackman, the director, was quoted in Entertainment Weekly talking about casting. He emphasized finding the right family.
Yeah, and that quote, highlighted by Newsweek, really speaks volumes. It reinforces that beyond the spectacle, the powers, the cosmic threats, the heart of the Fantastic Four is that core relationship.
The interactions between Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben.
Exactly. Getting actors who can sell that bond, that sometimes dysfunctional but ultimately loving family unit, is probably the most important piece of the puzzle for making this movie work.
Makes sense. So recapping based on that Newsweek piece, The Fantastic Four, First Steps hits July 25th, 2025. Julia Garner is Shalabal, the Silver Surfer.
Set in the 60s, retro-futuristic vibe, amazing cast.
And we know they will eventually connect to the wider MCU, showing up in Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars.
Right, so this film is both a standalone introduction and a major stepping stone for the whole saga.
So wrapping up our dive into this Newsweek analysis, the key takeaway seems to be this really deliberate, interesting choice with the Silver Surfer, using Shalabal, pulling from comic history.
Yeah, it's not just a simple swap. It's leveraging existing, if maybe less mainstream lore, to offer a fresh perspective. We've seen the retro setting, the top-tier cast, the hints at major future plots like Franklin Richards. It all points to a very thoughtful, ambitious take on Marvel's first family.
It really feels like Marvel is showing they're still willing to adapt, to explore different angles of these characters we thought we knew inside out. Opens up a lot of cool possibilities, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And maybe that leads to a final thought for everyone listening. How does using Shalabal specifically, with her unique comic book journey, the love interest, the empowered leader, even the antagonist, potentially change how we'll see Galactus and the whole concept of his heralds in the MCU?
That's interesting. Does it change the dynamic if the herald wasn't just a random sacrifice, but someone with this deep prior connection?
Right. And perhaps this whole conversation makes you curious to, dig into those old Silver Surfer comics yourself, see the stories of both Norrin Radd and Shalabal and how they intertwine. There's a lot there.